Okay, hey fam. Welcome to the weekend update with Greg and Glenn.
Oh, G squared.
Hey, we got a thing going. I think we'll work on that. We'll work on is it the Glenn and Greg? Is it Greg and Glenn? I don't know if either rolls off the tongue very well.
Yeah, I like GG.
GG, the GG, the GG show. Welcome to the GG show. And we are going to show you the updates for the FFFL. So
Oh, that's what
yeah,
we need. Now we got the GG on the FFFL.
yeah.
That way we can get more consonants in a row.
Oh my gosh, that's true. Okay, we'll work on. See, we're workshopping as we go here. All right. Well, Glenn, thank you for joining the call. Allison did show up eventually too.
He was
But
in.
you
I
just said it
know.
was Greg and Glenn, so I wasn't about to like poo-poo on the parade because my name doesn't start with G.
No, see, this is awesome though, because now we could be the gag show.
The gag show. Oh my God.
This
This just gets better
GAG.
and better as it goes
It's
on.
GAG or AG.
Yeah.
If we just need an R to join us, and then we'd be ARG.
Yarg.
Oh,
Well, before this pirate steals this show, we'll get it rolling. So I'm going to share my screen, Glenn.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead here. Boom, we'll do it this way. So I have a little bit of a PowerPoint, I guess,
Oh, thank
like I,
God.
like I always do. Let's start from the beginning. All right. I use the same format as last year, just so everybody's aware, in case you couldn't tell, and in case you obviously don't remember. But this is our league. I'll try to take Glenn and I away from this as best I can here. But we have the same people returning this year. There you
Woohoo!
go. So yes, which is awesome because you don't always get that in these fantasy football leagues. Oftentimes there's at least like one person kind of moving on or doing something different. So good to have everybody back with us. So thank you all for being here. Kyle, our computer kind of got spit on, and I don't know, we'll just say like it crapped out on us. So I don't have your lemonade photo, so I apologize. So I picked a photo off of Facebook, but that's your current new photo for me now. Glenn, you saw the same one. You're brewing some beer over there, and you were just saying how you were getting ready to start brewing some beer over in North Carolina too. So we got a little fitting photo here. Are you canning there actually? I guess is this you canning?
No, we put that was canning, but we're everything normally goes in kegs.
Okay. So you're not a canner. That's all
No,
right.
no. See, what it is if you work really hard on bottling or canning, and then someone drinks something and then goes, okay, we got to get going, and they leave a half of one, you realize how much work that is. If all of a sudden someone leaves with a partial glass from a beer that you poured, but a lot of times if they don't have enough time, I can pour them a little bit of beer, and they don't cry when they leave, and they just leave a half a bottle sitting on the counter.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I never had it explained that way.
Well, because you got to clean the bottles when the people are done. You got to it's work.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you're canning, it's because you're trying to also usually sell it. It's
Right.
not really for your own personal use. But yes, welcome back, everybody, including Allison, who's behind the camera now,
hi.
missed second place.
Mhm.
She is also back in the league this year, hoping to get a championship in the third go round. So why are Glenn and I here? And Allison,
Thanks.
I don't want to forget about her. But obviously, we're going to share the league setting update. So I sent out to everybody to maybe give some ideas of things they'd like to see in the future in this league or for this upcoming year, and we get to vote on those. We're also going to review the time and date for the draft. So get that on your books. And then looks like it looks like the gag show. So Glenn, Allison, and Greg are going to talk about potential ideas for the league loser punishment.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, big deal, right? All right. So we had to start off with our potential league setting changes. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted. So we had decreased the draft block time from 2 minutes to 1 minute. So this was made because the first year we did it, we had our draft done in 45 minutes. Last year, I think it took like 3 hours or something like that, or 2.5, something like that. So it was a little much, let's say it was much longer. It was over double the amount of time. So some people did not like that. Understandable. And then we will, so we're changing the time, we're going to change the time from 2 minutes to 1 minute. Second is rushing attempts go from 0.2 points per carry to 0.1 point per carry. Third, increased bonus for 100-yard rushing from 1 point to 2 point. Fourth, waiver order does not reset each week. So in the next slide, I'll say what people actually voted on. However, sorry.
I'm trying
No, we're good. However, I just want to explain it a little bit in case people don't understand. It's basically saying that at the beginning of the year, the first week, that's when the waiver order is set, and then from then on, it just rotates into whoever was the last person to pick somebody up in the waivers goes to the bottom and so forth. What does not change though is your free agency order. So if the waiver period was done, so once waivers pass through and it's just a normal free agency period during that week, that does not adjust your waiver priority. Meaning, if you were to not do anything in waivers and then you randomly pick somebody up on like a Thursday, you are still in the same waiver spot. So I want to make sure that people understood that aspect of it. But it's only Glenn and I and Allison, so it doesn't really matter what my explanation is. um, Fifth, add a bonus of 1 point for basically big plays. So that was a suggestion that was brought up to include big plays, which is in a lot of fantasy leagues. So just be adding a point for any 40+ yard touchdowns. And then the last one is moving from 2 divisions to 1 division, with this meaning, hey, you'll play your division twice and then you play everybody else once throughout.
Was it going from 2 to 1 or 2 to 3?
2 to 3. I'm sorry if I said 1. 2 to 3. So you'll play your division mates twice and then you'll play everybody else once. And then it also would be basically the division winners be the top 3 seeds in the playoffs, and we'd kind of go based on the normal other stuff as far as records / points for deciding the, I guess, 4 through 8. So we will see where we voted. So I think I got 9 of the 12 to vote. So that's actually pretty good. I'll take that as better than last year, where I believe we had maybe just over half the people vote on stuff. But here's where we ended up. So let me see if I can move Glenn and I out of the way again. Okay, so first, decreased draft block time from 2 minutes to 1 minute. You all voted yes. So that was actually, I think there were 7 yeses to 2 nos on that one. So we will be taking the draft time for each pick from 2 minutes down to 1 minute. Rushing attempts going from 0.2 points per carry to 0.1 point per carry is a no. And I'll explain this no. So it was actually a 4-4 vote on it. I'm giving there's a ninth vote, but Louis basically said I can vote whatever I choose goes. So Louis' vote is my vote, but I don't really want to vote that way, especially if we're 50-50. So any of them that are 50-50, I kept it as we are not changing. So unless there was an actual decent amount, like if it was 5 or 6 people saying yes, they wanted to change that, it would have been changed. But at this point, it's 4-4, and I'm saying no to that. What do you say to that, Glenn? What are your thoughts? Is that okay to do it that way?
Yeah, I think you came up with a fair way of tackling it, going if we didn't come up with a clear majority, then stick with what we were.
Okay. And that's so what that usually means for me also, I will point this out, is I will bring this up to vote for next year as well. Just we're not going to have very many things to vote on, but when I have a 50-50, I might bring that up for a vote next year for it.
Oh, good. I hope we have a tie on that vote.
Yeah, if we have another tie, then it won't be brought up again, and we'll just say this is what we are. But so far it has moved. So I say that because this was the second year it's proposed, and actually this year was not proposed by me, just so everybody is aware. But I proposed it last year, and I think it got 1 or 2 votes. Like it only got like 2 votes for it. This year
So
it got
why don't you
4.
explain to me? I voted no for it. So I understand why I voted no. Why would you vote yes for this?
So I guess it depends on how you want to view fantasy football. So how I'd like to view it is I'd like it to emulate regular football as much as we possibly can. So that's where I go with it. And I believe there is decreasing value on the running back in regular football these days. I'm not saying it's not as an important position, but obviously based on how the game is moving, how contracts are structured, you can tell that even owners of actual football teams don't care as much about their running backs as they do the passing game. We are already at half a point per reception instead of a full point per reception. So for me, we're already kind of helping give the running backs back some value as far as actually running the ball because it's not a full point per reception, which would put wide receivers and other pass catchers kind of ahead already. And then when you go to 0.2 points per carry, like to me, you really swayed it over to the running back to now where I feel like we're not in line with what the NFL does, if that makes any sense.
I understand the words. I just always, I just always felt that our league leaned awfully heavy towards the quarterback.
Sure.
And anytime a league feels disproportionate, then you should be voting for things to add balance. And I get the concept of emulating where the NFL currently puts stock, but at the same point in time, that's they, I don't know. It just strikes me as going, we are too quarterbacky heavy already. And if you don't
Sure.
have a key quarterback, like I lose a quarterback in the first couple weeks or whatever, it's a real hill climb after that.
You did.
I know.
No, so here's where I would put that, Glenn. So I actually feel like so what you're saying is yes, but the NFL also puts all the weight on quarterbacks. Like the quarterbacks is the face of the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL, and these guys are big. So like to me, being skewed towards the quarterback in a sense makes sense for that. But what I would also throw at you is I think that the quarterback is heavily skewed in ours because we're at 6 points per touchdown pass, which normally in my leagues I play 4, but I know that was voted on to change it to 6. And we have the point per carry. So that actually helps like a Jalen Hurts, an Anthony Richardson, a Josh Allen, and elevates them even higher, in my opinion, than it actually like. So in a sense, we are kind of devaluing the wide receiver, in my opinion, but valuing more quarterback and running back at that point with the point per carry because
Okay.
receivers aren't getting any carries. I mean, it's a rarity they'll get one. So that's where I'd say like I see what you're saying, but I think it's fine. I mean, I also think it makes our league different. I think having point per carry is actually kind of cool in our league. That makes it different. It makes it a little bit of a different strategy when you're going into doing our style of league.
Right.
So I'm cool with it. I voted yes, but like I'm fine with it staying. Um, Thirdly, we have increased bonus for 100-yard rushing from 1 point to 2 points. So that was voted as yes, almost unanimously. I think there's maybe only one or two no's for that one. But so we will be adding another point to the 100-yard rushing bonus. Waiver order does not reset each week. This was actually voted yes. So this is where hopefully my explanation of what this means will help now. But ultimately, what that says is I think it was a 6-2 vote on that as well. But it was week one, we'll set it. So whoever is 0-1 and has the lowest amount of points, you will be the first in the priority order, all the way to number 12 being someone who's 1-0 and has the highest points of the week in week one. And it will basically just rotate from there. So as people make like the waiver claims, they'll just keep rotating down to number one. If number one decides to never make a waiver claim, they will literally just sit at number one the whole time. It does not mean that you can't make a waiver claim. It doesn't mean that number two can't get a player that they want. It just means once then the number two person, let's say, pick somebody, but number one didn't. Number two then goes to the back of the line and it keeps rotating that way. It does not impact you for free agents, like I was saying earlier. So just be aware of that. If you want to go through the waiver period and not select somebody, the only one that it will impact for technically free agents is sometimes you'll notice that maybe somebody like when we drop players, there's normally like a waiver period for when a player is dropped. Like they're available in 2 days, just so everybody has time to look to see if they want that player. That's considered a waiver. So if there's a W next to them in the free agency side, they are considered to be on waivers. And if you put a claim in for it and you get that person, even if it's not during that normal waiver period from after Monday night's football game through, I guess, Wednesday morning, it'll still impact you in the waiver order and you'll go to the end. that's a lot of words. So I don't, any explanation there? Or I can maybe explain it throughout the year.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't. I've listened to it 3 times and I voted on it. I still don't completely understand. So I consider myself okay, but somehow or another, it sounds like if I'm getting it right, rather than it being something that's adjusting based upon your how bad you're doing for the season, which would normally move you forward, it is now
Yeah.
based upon a random order that started somewhere by some randomness and then stays random.
I don't think it's random, but yes, it does kind of stay random at that point.
Well, because
Uh,
it's just going to go in some arbitrary number that we started off with based
yep.
upon some random drawing, and then that will pick the order, and it just stays that way until someone picks, and then they move to the bottom.
Yep. That's
Okay,
basically how it
I,
goes.
I got it.
So be mindful of your waiver priorities, I guess.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
it adds a little bit of strategy, I guess, to it. There's one where I didn't carry the way, but somehow I got voted fairly unanimously on that one.
Okay.
5, add a bonus of 1 point for 40 plus yard touchdown pass catches and runs. It was voted yes to add a point for these like big plays. So that will be put on. And then moving from 2 divisions to 3 divisions, it was a 4-4 vote. So I just kept it as no for it. Um, I already listed the what that would do for us, and I'll put that as the other one that'll come out next year. So right now, next year is just going to be a vote on point per carry again, and that'll be the last year we're going to vote on it. And then the same with the divisions. Next year will be the last year that we'll vote on that as to whether or not we'll go from 2 to 3. Cool. Anything from Glenn or Allison? Okay. All
Nicely
right.
done.
We need a draft. We do need a draft. So I think we already kind of mentioned some of this, if I'm not mistaken, but if I haven't, looking to do the draft Sunday, August 25th in the afternoon or evening. Um, I can't do it the following week, which would have been ideal of Labor Day week because we will be at a wedding. An important one that multiple, at least I guess I'll say at least a quarter of our league will be attending for that. So I can't do it the following week. So I'd like to do as close to the NFL season as we can. That's why we're setting up for Sunday, August 25th in the afternoon or evening. That's not set yet. I don't know if it matters. Does it matter to you, Glenn, if it's afternoon or evening?
I would lean towards evening just because it's not in the middle of the day.
Okay. So I'll do that. Maybe we'll lean towards the evening then for it. So I'm cool with that. And then obviously I'll set up a Zoom call for it, and I'll send everybody that as well. But what we didn't talk about was draft order, and you would send your vote in, Glenn,
Yep.
as you would do draft order based on how they finished, how people finished in the year. I would actually vote that way, but in a different style. And I don't know if this is too complicated, and maybe we just leave it as last place gets first, the first pick. My suggestion would be if we go that route of loser, I would say if you're the last place team, you get to pick where you want to pick. Just because some people don't like to draft first, they don't like to be at the end of a snake draft where you got to pick 2 players in a row and then you don't get to pick for 20 some odd players. What do you say to that?
Well, I again, following your statement earlier of emulating the league, normally worst place has the opportunity to get the best player to hopefully
Yep.
build up the team from their spot that they were in. So I think that part's important, but they have the ability to trade amongst themselves. So the league doesn't go, okay, now you get to choose wherever you get to pick. You have to trade for it.
Yeah.
So I mean, what I would say is you go with draft order, but if 2 players want to get together and say, hey, I'll give up my first place for your 6th place, then maybe we don't stop them from doing it as long as it's done before the draft. But I think just randomly, if you can't work out a trade with somebody, you should be the spot. You're the worst. You're
Yeah.
first. Deal with it.
You're the worst.
And I was barely going to bring this up this year because of the fact that I'm in a weird spot to say that because it gives me the first choice.
Yeah.
but I've voted for that in multiple other leagues, just going, it it follows the NFL the most,
Yep.
and follow that, and it's not just by a style. Like I'll go back to arguing with right now that because of TV, yes, there's marquee quarterback players or whatever, but it was never built into the game where the quarterback was supposed to be the all something. That's just what happened. But this
Yeah.
has always been that way. When it comes time for the draft, the only advantage of being in last place is you get a first round draft choice.
Yeah.
And
I
if
like
someone
it.
were to if someone were to look at me and say, "Hey, I'll trade for your spot," I would love to be able to offer that as trade fodder for something. And that seems to
Okay.
be in our style, which is we try to encourage trades. You get good amount of trades, and I'd be curious to see if anybody was like going, "Hey, I'll offer you this, and then we'll come up with some other way of sweetening the pot as it goes by."
So here's what I would say to that. And I'm trying to figure out because I don't know. We're set up on ESPN, so I don't know there's a way to do it. But I know in Sleeper, which is an app that I use for fantasy football a lot, you can do that. You can actually make trades for draft picks, and it's a fairly easy process. They have a like user friendly way to do it. So I don't mind that, but I would say it almost had to be done before.
Right.
It had to be done beforehand, before the draft ever starts. So you're saying something like, "Hey, I will trade you the 101, so the very first draft pick for." But here's where I go. I think that the tough part is it going to be something where somebody ends up with more players than they need? Because I would almost say that it has to be if I'm going to do it, it has to be an even number of picks. So you can maybe say, I'll trade you the 101 and the 301 for your 106 and 206 or something, you know what I mean? Like it would be tough to do it in a fashion that gives one person technically an extra pick that doesn't make any sense because they have to drop somebody anyway, so it doesn't help them at that
Right.
point. And then you'd have one less pick. So I'm interested in the idea. I just don't know how it works on ESPN.
Yeah,
If that's
I
possible.
don't either. I just think we can, again, I could come up with a couple creative ways that I would throw out to somebody.
Yeah.
To look at me and say, "Okay, I'll give you my, if I can get first round, I'll give you my eighth round, but I'll also give you my next round pick." It'd be like going, "Okay, so then on that one, here's who I would pick. You pick them, put it on the waiver,
Yeah.
put them on. But then you offer them up to a trade for somebody off of my bench, or something along on those lines, because I'm basically you're picking for me. So I think we could bypass it, and I think this group is smart enough to figure it out. But the first thing you'd have to see is somebody who cares that much about draft order.
Yeah. That's true too. That's usually only for the degenerates of the sport. If
Correct.
it's considered a sport of the
And
gambling, I should say.
and luckily some of the group is also fits in that category. So
Yes.
I think it'd be interesting to know that it's just available for people to do if they want to try to work it out before the draft starts.
Yeah. I'm
But
in for it.
once the draft starts, then you can't do it anymore.
So then we're going to make a gag decision here, and we're just going to say draft order will start with worst to first. So Glenn, and that's perfect because Glenn, you're the worst. I'm first. Gag. We're
Yep,
bookending it. Okay.
yep. So it affects both of us. And so the people we weren't in the middle making up decisions.
Yep.
We were definitely the people who is going to impact the most and impact the most.
Yes. Right, my daughter just let me know that I'm the worst. Actually.
Maybe this year too.
The worst, second is the best.
Oh, first is the worst, second is the best. She said. That's what. So mom.
Got it.
So that makes mom her mom the
The
best.
best.
I was going to say, it sounds like someone's been getting coached on the way to this meeting.
What?
That's wonderful. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So I'll set up the order for that. We'll do last to first, and then we got that. Cool. So we made a decision. I mean, if others wanted to make the decision, they could have been on the call. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But is that so then this is the order that so instead of it being randomized, we're choosing it this way, but then is it going based on how people voted for like it's staying in this order? in the waiver. Is this for the waivers, right?
No, this is for draft order.
Oh,
When we're
okay.
drafting. So Glenn will have the
Got
first
it.
pick of the first round. You'll have the 11th pick. I'll have the 12th pick. And then it snakes after that. So then I'll have the
Right.
first pick, the second round, no second pick, and so it just snakes back.
But this order has nothing to do with the waivers.
Correct.
Okay.
Nothing to do with the weight.
Okay.
So don't worry about this. This is just how we draft. Yeah.
No big deal.
No big deal. So Glenn, are you gonna
what does set the waiver order?
that's what I was saying. It's not really random. It's the very first week, it takes the outcome of the first week. So it's almost like normal in week one. And then from
Okay.
there is where it goes into just
Okay.
now it
Yeah,
doesn't move.
I was believing it was the same way that Allison was thinking, that the
No.
decision we had just made also was setting the waiver order.
That's what I thought.
No, so waiver order will basically be after week one, the team that is 0-1 with the lowest amount of points.
Okay.
They will be considered the worst team. So they'll be the first in the waiver order. And then whoever is 1-0 and has the highest points for that for week one, they'll be the last in the waiver order. And it flows that way. And then, but then at that point, moving forward for the rest of the time, it's set, and then it just starts to rotate that way. So if that last person decides to pick up somebody in week one in the wave during waivers, they'll go to the bottom. But let's just say 3 people do it, it rotates that same way. It's almost like you're in. Remember the game knockout basketball? You know, it's kind of like you flow that way.
This makes sense now because I
Okay.
like the fact that it wasn't randomly picked in the
Correct.
beginning. That was my biggest problem with it
Yeah.
before, which was it was random. And at least that's why I was hoping it was going to anchor to the draft, or thought it was anchored to the draft. And our draft up until a few minutes ago was based upon random dumb luck.
Sure.
You know, so that's where it was like going, hold it, the whole system's based upon something random, but it's really
Yeah.
not. And so that's fine.
But now we've got order for everything. So now it's all in order.
Oh yeah, we're pretty much like the people's court.
Yeah, I think we are the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is, the citizens that get to rely on our judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. Just some reminders for payouts. So we have 12 teams at $50 per team. So get that to me between now and before we draft, please. And then this is our payout. They're the same exact way as last year. And then here's all the ways to pay. I don't think Allison has Venmo anymore.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, she does have Venmo. So never mind. You can still do that. So that's how it works for payouts. Any questions, Glenn?
No, sir. No,
Okay.
sir.
I didn't think so. Now we gotta talk about loser punishment. Glenn, you went through it, What do you say to somebody who claims that they won't do it?
I just sit there and say that they just need a hug, because the fact that it was like that was just punishment on top of punishment on top of punishment. It's not bad enough when you just suck, and then you realize you suck, and then you come to the realization, and then all of a sudden you've got to now go out in public and let everybody else know you suck. It's like this was hurtful. So I'm saying in this day and age, we should come up with a way of sending like last place. The punishment should be something like a group hug or something along those lines.
Got it.
No.
They must get a hug from everybody in the league before next year starts. Whether that's them flying to go into Chicago to see us or stuff like that.
Something along, or just somewhere along the line that you owe you a hug. And so we'll just see where this goes. I'll be like waiting for it. And all of a sudden I'll be like, hey, I'm traveling through, pick a random state where somebody's from. And it'll be like, all of a sudden I get hugged and I'll be like, what the hell? And they'll be like, oh, that's because you needed this.
I love it.
Yeah, no, I thought I'll be honest with you. The fake date thing was funny. I had a lot of fun with mine. So all of these things are whatever. I don't know how we soak somebody. Well, how
So I've heard of this. So this is where now normally it's done in live drafts, like when you're in person draft, but it's the loser. I've seen this punishment where the loser has to come to the draft wearing a sweater. And every single other person gets to pour a cup of water on them.
Yes.
And they have to sit during the draft in soaked in water.
That sounds good.
It does sound awful because an in-person draft usually takes forever. It's not good.
So
And
here's a
I-
couple that I saw from Reddit.
Okay, so Allison's giving here. We'll turn it to
Oh,
Allison
I
so
can
that
just go over.
she.
I'll just go over here.
Okay, Allison. Yeah, but I got my trophy here. We can't do that.
I can stand right there.
I'll move it.
Okay, so this person said this year's punishment, the loser has to sit in a dark closet and build a 300-piece puzzle with only a headlamp.
Okay.
There was something where the loser had to watch Cats and write a review. There was the winner of the league renames the last place team for the next
Oh,
year.
that's a pretty good one.
I love that one. And that could
I
be
like
different
that.
anyway.
And that one is free. But then the thing is, like, you just can't change it then. Like the loser can't
Yeah.
change it because obviously they,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's
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 an
really
easy
pretty
one.
good.
Yeah. What do you think to that? Glenn, that seems like the number one. Because it's
Yeah,
simple. It doesn't mean it. Yeah. I'm in for that. It's easy. Anyone can do it. I like that. The only thing I'm going to throw into that, and that's because I incur the cost each year, would be that the loser also has to buy the nameplate for the champion. Like that actually says and legitimize, not whatever name you think they should have, but one that actually has. And I say that because it's like $15. I know it's not a lot, but if I'm incurring it every year, I just don't feel like paying the $15 every year for somebody else's trophy. I was fine this year to pay for it. That's something else that I would add on to it selfishly. So I know it's a selfish add-on, uh, team gag, but what do you think of my selfish add-on?
so you're saying not only do they not get money, they get charged an additional 15.
Well, the loser?
Yeah.
You
Well,
just
why would they get money? They lost.
Well, because again, in this day and age, are we not supposed to? Aren't you worried about the trauma? What about my trauma?
well, can you just like add instead of it being however much it is to like be part of the
All right,
league,
everybody,
just,
it is
like,
now
add?
$51.
Yeah. I feel like that feels better.
No, I really don't care on this one. I think the $15 is fine. I definitely agree with you that you should not have to pay for it to go on the trophy. I'm guessing though you already shipped the trophy then to the person.
Well, Sam personally delivered it.
Correct.
Okay, but not every time is that going to be
Right. So,
possible.
Glenn, if it was you, I'm not shipping it to you. I'm bringing it to you personally. I will plan a vacation.
Okay, but what I'm saying is I think we have to pay attention to just that. I mean, you've got more expenses than just the name
True.
plate, and so there
That's
may
true.
get to the point where at some point in time we do follow the Allison rule, which is like it's $55,
That's a good point. Maybe it's 55,
you know,
so it can
in
be
which
shipped.
it just covers
Yeah.
expenses because
That's
if
kinda heavy.
you shouldn't be eating that every year. And on the years you can do it for free,
No way.
hurrah. And on the years that it's going to Texas or whatever, then
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
got monies sitting there, so we don't have to feel bad about you shipping it.
Maybe that's what we'll do. All right.
Because I feel like if you can do like for the nameplate and that, I mean, I don't feel like that split amongst
Right,
all
yeah.
of us is that much more to join
But
the
that's what
league.
I'm
Here's-
saying. Something like $55, that means you're it's a quick $60 a year just to cover any type of expenses like that.
Like the
And if-
nameplate, then I can do it each year.
But like and then we can hold on to that cost and that just stays in that like pocket of money
Yeah.
for like whatever it is. So like even if we do roll it into the next year, it's like, oh, shipping didn't cost that much because we're personally driving
Yeah.
it to
I gave it
Indy.
to Allison.
Right. So then like
That did
so
not
then
cost
right, that's what I'm saying.
$45.
What will happen this year? So then like we hold on to that. So either then that stays in that little fund or like it just rolls over the next year, like whatever we didn't use. So then maybe it's not 55, it's like 52,
Yeah, it's like 50. or something.
so
Figure it out.
Oh, that's smart. I see what she's saying.
Yeah.
I'm voting for Allison's amendment.
Okay. So I'm gonna send maybe another update then. Maybe we can start that this year, just and everybody hopefully understands it.
Well,
That
and
it's
that's a
just
good
to
push-in
cover.
to start it,
Yeah,
then.
because there are some weird things that kind of happen with all this stuff.
And if you
Um,
think people will freak out about $55, the other option you have is you could just reduce payouts.
yeah, that's
Mm,
true as well. So
that's true.
You know, because I mean that way it stays 50 and you're just pulling, you know, you're pulling a $5 commission or fee. I mean, that's why I pay in my NASCAR fantasy, you know,
okay,
so $5 of it goes to the main commissioners to take care of all the computing and updating and blah 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 blah.
that makes sense. Okay. So maybe I'll put I like that you added that extra piece about that, Glenn. So maybe I can just throw it out as a vote. Hey, would you rather pay
Mm.
$55 and keep the payouts how they are, or would you rather keep it at 50 and I just adjust the payouts down and this extra cost is going to cover, you know,
Does everybody get some
because
type
what
of
it
payout though?
huh?
Like, what if I never get like most points or whatever? Does everybody get some type of payout?
Well, that's where it's kind of tough. I'd probably adjust more of the first, second, third type of payout
Right.
because then
That's
it
what I
also
was.
doesn't have to be $60 total being held. It could be more like, hey, I'm going to hold 40
Yeah.
or 45 or whatever to cover the $15 for the nameplate. And then to cover, I'm hoping it's only $30 to ship this thing. I don't know. You know what I mean? So maybe at that point,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
would sit
adjusted
there and
from
say
there.
just keep collecting the money, keep the collect the money until you ship it to one of us outliers. And when you ship it to one of us outliers, you'll get an idea of how much money all those things cost in a year. And then Allison's amendment where she said that the following year you could increase, you know, payouts or decrease the $5 add-on because now we have a better sense of what all these things are going to cost us.
Okay. I like it.
And you got an Excel sheet that you can always
Yeah,
create
I
for.
always usually keep
Yeah.
a good record of all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So
I
okay,
still love to have you guys out here in North Carolina. So,
Really awesome.
yeah.
so I'm not trying to stop you from coming. I'm just trying to make it. I really just want
Well,
to make sure that the commissioner is happy and taken care of.
well, I appreciate that, love, and
Yeah.
I mean we're just gonna basically keep that $5 extra going until we get enough money to go to North Carolina, and then that's what we'll do.
And
Okay.
then I just need to do my part and win, and then you can sit there and go, it's justified. You said you were paying for shipping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we pay for your shipping. It ended up being $800. That sounds good. We'll do that. But I like that, so I'll post it out to the group just to say, do you want to keep it 50 and I'll adjust the payouts, or do you want it to be 55 and payouts stay the same? So I'll throw that out as a vote. I appreciate you both for helping through that. Team Gag,
Gag.
we're all over this.
We are making decisions left and right.
Cheers.
Goal.
Love it.
Oh,
And Allison is emptying the wine bottle.
damn.
So she is emptying
Yeah,
the
I just
wine. The vino is filled the glass.
so
Okay.
we're doing bourbon, wine, and beer. We're covering all
Look,
the bases.
look at us. See, and that just shows how well rounded we are as a
Correct.
council,
Small.
as
Correct. Yep.
the
This
leading
is true.
council for the FFFL.
Yeah.
So right on. Okay, so we got that. So then I'm not gonna even worry about the alternative punishment because I think the renaming of the team I think is hilarious and it costs zero money for the other person to do, and they have all the time in the world to think about it until they want to put it in. It's just got to be done before that prior year, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think it's something that would be just hilarious to have on draft day where you will, you know,
Yep.
as soon as you get in, you can sit there and change it, and then they can't change it. I mean, how funny would that be to show up to the draft and find out what your name is?
Yeah, exactly. That's fine.
But
I love it. I'm in for that, for being the punishment. And then I think you all come up with some good stuff that we could do for taking care of trophy stuff, shipping, all that stuff. Maybe if we weren't so national, we're going to probably be international soon. Who knows? This
Oh
whole
my.
league, we're going to have to be the NFFFL, the national. Yeah. So, okay, cool. Well, that's all I got for everybody. Thank you, Glenn, for hopping on the call. I appreciate you helping talk through a lot of the stuff. I think we made some good changes. Allison,
Yeah.
Tage, thank you all for being here at our home. That was good. And thank you all out there. for hopefully watching this, because you're about to get some good information and how we came to these conclusions as long as you watch it. All right, Glenn. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun in North Carolina unpacking still.
Yep.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Man, if that's the case, man, we're gonna win because we've been going so slow. It's not even funny. So,
Well, we love seeing it. Honestly, I love seeing the home. Love seeing your place. That was cool for showing me that stuff. And yeah, keep that phone. It's making everything look longer. So you're right. It'll help you
yeah,
out in other things too. Okay.
exactly. So, are we still recording?
Yeah. Do you want me to stop the recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll stop the recording.